Welcome to another meandering episode of Cinematic Anarchy, where we have a new potential co-host joining us today. Steph, how are you today?
Hello, I'm good. Honored to be here.
It's a good weekend to be good.
It
We finally
is.
got rid of the torrential downpours over here, so I've decided to stay in most of the day, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, in England, we've been having an ungodly heat wave. Like, British heat, you don't understand. It is a different ball game. It is Satan's bursting asshole here. Not live, laugh, love, but that's British infrastructure for you.
Just basically cooking an egg on the sidewalk weather.
Pretty much, yeah. I think, am I the first Brit you've had on the podcast?
No, we've had, I think,
Ah.
two others. We have a lady, Bev, who had written she writes reviews for certain films, independent films, a lot of shitty films. She did a book called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of Independent Cinema. Uh,
Love.
and so that's the woman who came on to review The Shark Exorcist with us a few weeks back.
Brilliant.
Mm.
Well, this podcast has now been colonized by the British. We're back. Don't go throwing our
Hey,
tea into the bay again, please.
I don't mind you guys coming over here at all. I mean, I think even my ancestors came from that area.
Yeah, we
I,
just kind of spread out everywhere, so.
I'm Irish. I'm part Irish, part French, so not necessarily England, but close enough. UK.
It is colonizer territory, yeah.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be talking about I guess objectively this could be considered the worst performing film that David Lynch has ever done, but it is probably one of his most iconic. We're going to be talking about Eraserhead.
Yeah, his most spiritual film. Also, probably my favorite, along with The Elephant Man. Controversial, but those my favorites. Like, Blue Velvet was good. I liked Firewalk with Me, but I love his early stuff, most of
Yeah,
all.
Jack Nance was actually supposed to be the Elephant Man,
He
but they
was,
couldn't quite
yes.
get things to line up for that, unfortunately. But I think Jack Nance has been in every other David Lynch film that he's made.
He's
If
been in
I'm,
a lot, yeah. He was in Dune as well, along with Carl McLachlan.
yeah, I, I'll be honest. When I first watched this film, I didn't realize it was him just because of the hair.
Right, the funniest fact about Eraserhead is the fact it took 5 years to film, so Jack Nance had to walk around with that fuck-ass haircut for 5 years.
Oh, that is a commitment. That is a commitment
Honestly,
to
yeah.
a brutal hairstyle.
It's horrid, and that poor man had to walk around looking like that, and they basically made no money from it. He was barely getting paid.
Oh, yeah, I think this film was made on a budget of about $100,000. May have gotten $60,000 back out of it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it
Uh,
was a struggle to make. It took him a very long time. It took him so long that his family actually sat him down and had a bit of an intervention with him, basically being like, hey, this isn't really panning out. Do you want to think about, actually getting a job and kind of leaving behind this whole film thing? And thank God he didn't. So, he actually stuck with it. And now we have the legend that is David Lynch and his insane, insane mind in cinema.
I like the fact that his explanation for most of his films is just lucid daydreaming.
Yeah.
Like he will commit to an idea. Like he doesn't dream. He says he specifically does not remember his actual dreams, but these are the things that his mind will create when he's just having a daydream, middle of the day. And I think this one was created out of a daydream that he had that just say somebody bringing someone's head to an eraser factory or a pencil factory to be sharpened, and
Yeah,
it turned into a
exactly.
racer head.
Yeah. And it's insane how he gets his ideas for his films as well, because David Lynch famously doesn't explain his films, so they are very much up to interpretation to the audience. But he said before, some of his stuff in his film doesn't make sense because life doesn't make sense, and life is an imitation of art, and art is an imitation of life. So it doesn't make sense because life doesn't make sense. And I think that is one of my favorite things that he's ever said, and honestly, it just makes his films that much weirder and great.
And I mean, why would you want to lay down an interpretation of your own work when you know that a vast majority of it is abstract anyway? You want
Exactly,
people
yeah.
to have their own interpretations, to watch it again and again and get something different out of it rather than being guided by the guy that made the work. He knows what he
Yeah.
did. He knows what he felt when he was making it. And like any good art, he's letting you interpret it how you feel it.
Exactly. And when it is something as abstract and avant-garde as Eraserhead, you notice different things each time. It's like, I've watched Eraserhead 3 times now. I watched it twice on Blu-ray, and then I recently went to see a viewing of it on original 16mm film from 1977. They are the reels from the original release on an old school projector. Like, the whole time you could hear like the clanking of the projector spinning. Very cool. Absolutely loved it. And 16mm was also very popular at that time to film on because it was more inexpensive, because 30mm had just started coming out, so it was in the era of kind of transitioning. Um, but it was played on 2 reels, and still, I've noticed so many more new things as well. And I got to the root of personally why I think it is David Lynch's most spiritual film. Because he said it is his most spiritual. He never said why, because he never explains his work.
I was highly disappointed in myself. Friday night, I had 2 tickets to go see it in the theater down in Salem, Massachusetts. It
Nice.
did not work out. I had to pass the
Oh,
tickets off to a couple of my friends because I couldn't make the show. It was a 10 p.m. showing, and a lot had happened over the workday, and I was excited. I'm like, I'm working my ass off to get to this show, and then some shit hit the fan later on in the evening, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to make this.
that sucks.
However, I have it on Criterion. I
Me
have the
too.
Criterion 4K copy of it, so I
Yep.
came home and I ended up just kind of bellying up and watching it early on a Saturday morning while I had coffee shortly before the power went out.
Yeah, because we were meant to film yesterday and your power fucked us over. If I'm being honest, it's probably for the better because I spent all of yesterday being very hungover and tried to get back from my friend's house who lives like a good hour and a half away. So maybe it's for the better.
You don't know how many people I've had on this podcast in a state of hungover. And in Nico's case, on occasion, blasted during the filming.
You know
So
what? Drinking while doing podcasts, it's a fun time.
I'll send you a link. We had one podcast that we did a while back. She brought a couple of friends on. She decided to drink during the podcast. And about 45 minutes in, the inebriation just hit her. And she was fairly incoherent for the rest of the episode. And I think she passed out the last 3 minutes. And we're like, where'd she go? It's like, I think I saw her lay down.
My God, okay. I mean, I'm British, so our alcohol tolerance is much higher than that. 45 minutes.
Oh, her alcohol tolerance is great. The problem was I think she had been pre-gaming before we even we started recording.
Mate, 45 minutes of pre-gaming is like nothing. That's only like 3 drinks. It's only when you get about drink 10 or 11, that's when you're like, oh shit, I'm drunk. So,
That's why I told my friends that I'm not drinking beer anymore.
yeah,
Hard
that'll do
liquor
it to
only.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more cost effective. Like,
Less trips to the bathroom.
that is true. Just do
You know,
straight shots, just gets right to you.
I don't want to have to get up and head to the bathroom every 5 minutes because I've been pounding back lager after lager. I just no.
Happens to
A
the best of us.
couple of shots of whiskey or something to that nature, some scotch. I'm good. I don't need to do that. It's like, yeah, no, I'm good. I want to be able
You're
to sit and
right.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
To be fair, that's me with homemade wine, because homemade wine is so much stronger than store bought. Just make your own wine. It's a great time.
our film here by David Lynch. It stars Jack Nance as Henry Spencer, Charlotte Stewart as Mary, Alan Joseph as Mr. X, and Janie Bates Bates as Miss X, the parents of Mary.
Yes.
And this film was created, or I think they finished the film in 1977, but didn't get it out till the following year, like early 78.
Yeah.
Uh, it is dependent upon who you talk to. It goes back and forth between being either described as a dark comedy or a body horror, or this is that thing about him leaving it open to everybody's interpretation. So it defies genre, like almost all of his films do. They defy
Oh,
a
yeah.
specific genre.
They're all cross-genre in some way, 'cause he loves using, like, horror elements, but he's never made, in my opinion, a true horror film. Like, Twin Peaks had a lot of supernatural and horror references, but Twin Peaks is also a mystery/drama, so... And it could also be a romance, depending... I'm so sorry, I have to close my window, because they decided to play music very loud down the street. 1 second, I apologize.
That is perfectly fine. It's not actually bleeding over at all. I couldn't hear the music. But
Okay, apologies about that. There's been a festival going on the past couple of days, and I live central in the city, so they've just been playing music, and it's like, great, cheers.
I live right off the main street in the middle of a city in Massachusetts, and I will tell you that there's people that love their loud cars, and they will just blaze by my window all day. And I cannot record during a certain month in the summer because it is all motorcycles all the time.
My God. I love when people rev their engine and declare to the world they've got a tiny dick. It's so fun.
I like when they do it outside my window at 2:00 in the morning. Like they pull over and specifically just rev their engine. It's okay. Well,
I know, it's so fun.
Give me a few minutes. I got a bag of sugar. I'm going to come pour it into your gas tank because I'm a little tired of listening to that.
That is next level petty. I love that.
That or banana in the tailpipe, which will fuck some things up too, depending upon how you want to go.
One or the other. But anyway, yes, Eraserhead, the cast. I did want to also point out, this was Jen Lynch's first film credit as well as the little girl. That she was on screen for like not even 10 seconds, but she's there right at the end. And big flex on my part, Jen Lynch follows me on TikTok. I'm friends with Jen Lynch on TikTok. She follows me. I made one TikTok about her dad, David Lynch, and she was like, nice, I'm following this lady now. And she reposted it. I
think I have like one semi-celebrity follower right now, and it's not who you would think.
Who is it?
Sergeant Slaughter.
Who?
Sergeant Slaughter. He was a wrestler for the WWE for the longest time, who eventually became the face of G.I. Joe.
Oh, okay. I know G.I. Joe, but I don't know shit about wrestling, so... I know
Sergeant
John
Slaughter,
Cena, and that's it.
They basically used him to put a popular face on G.I. Joe because he had a military personality in the WWE, and they were trying back in like the early 80s, 90s to really cross over into popular media and make it not just wrestling. So they tried hard to like cross over with MTV and basic cartoons, films. They had so many Saturday morning cartoons. I think I only ever watched wrestling way back when because the guy that I basically call my father, the woman, my dad, the man, sorry, I bear with me, I'll explain why I called him a woman in a minute, married, he only ever watched wrestling as a sport.
Right, okay.
Years later, I realized it was because he kind of liked watching the guys wrestling.
Oh!
Yeah. So...
okay, that's...
things progressed from there, but that was
outside looking in, wrestling is inherently very homoerotic. Like, you're not telling me you're throwing each other around, basically in your underwear, and saying that's straight. That's pretty fucking gay, if you ask me.
I mean, there's a lot of tight holds and mounted positions in those wrestling matches, so... and half of those guys are just wearing underwear.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
So, yeah, I think there's probably a little bit more homoeroticism within the wrestling community than they would actually like to have aired publicly.
Yeah, probably. Like, it sounds like
To
it.
each their own. To each their own. My dad got what he needed to out of it. I didn't realize till years later. So,
Good for him. Hope he's happy.
and moving back to Eraserhead.
Back to
Uh,
Eraserhead.
so this
So,
film basically follows Henry Spencer as he's basically in navigating this industrial world. I guess they were saying it's around Philadelphia, but he never really explained whether or not it was Philadelphia or just sort of a reimaging of Los Angeles, depending, again, leaving it up to interpretation. Well, it could be this, could be
always.
that.
Yep.
It follows him and his relationship with his girlfriend and her family and a mutant newborn child that is born out of their, I guess, one act of copulation.
If there is one thing I could ask David Lynch, like if we resurrected him from the grave, I would just want to know what the fuck is the fetus and where did you get it from? Because the only people who know are David Lynch and the guy who plays Henry Spencer and no one else. It's rumored to have been the fetus of a cow, but no one knows.
I thought it looked like the fetus of one of those hairless cats.
I mean, yeah, but hairless
I guess the
cats, when they're
muzzle was a
born,
little
they're
too wide for
tiny.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been a lot smaller if it was. So, like, a horse or a cow would have made a lot more sense. But, like, the puppeteering of it as well, my god, it's terrifying.
I think the child was born out of the whatever toxic effects eating those chickens that the father was making. The bleeding chickens that he was basting.
The first time I watched Eraserhead, I had to pause it and turn it off for a good 10 minutes because I was like, what the fuck is this and what is happening? This is gross. Like, the squelching noise. Grim. Grim hated it.
I will tell you
Hated
that he
it.
does know how to give you this visceral kind of sick feeling in certain moments, and that moment right there was just that, and the uneasy look, the uneasy smile that Mr. X gives Henry, like while just sitting.
Absolutely.
Horror is basically going on all around him, and he's just staring at him with this smile that does not break.
Definitely. Also, I feel like the while we're on the topic of that scene, that really sets up why it is David's most spiritual film. I feel like that scene specifically because there is a lot of Christian imagery very subtly scattered throughout the film. I mean, some of it is more in your face, like Mary, Mother Mary, who has baby Jesus. She's called
Right.
Mary, has that weird baby. Yeah. But there's also the Holy Trinity gets repeated a lot because when you meet Mary's family, you meet 3 generations of her family because her grandmother is in the kitchen because her mum comes in, puts a cigarette in her mouth and lights it, and that's her grandmother. You see her parents and you see Mary. 3 ones. He also has 3 love interests. He has Mary, the woman across the hall, and the woman in the radiator. The 3 yet again. And the man pulls the lever 3 times throughout the film. 3 is being repeated yet again. And, you know, it kind of repeats that a lot. And also there's the scene where the girl in the radiator sings, "In heaven everything is fine," explicitly mentioning heaven. And that weird ass milk sex scene thing with the woman across the hall, I thought could have represented a baptism because they go under. Well, the milk is gross, but
Yeah.
where you get baptized, it's usually the holy water. So, there's kind of I feel like it's representative of his religion and how he views religion as well as quite strict and rigid. Because I believe David was a biblical man, biblical man, a religious man. However, he's always been very disdained of rigid rules and strict norms. He's always wants to break away from those. So I feel like this is him exploring his religion, but in a way that is more alternative to what people would expect from Christianity, if you know what I mean.
Kind of goes along with his mindset that nothing really makes sense. The world doesn't make
Yes.
sense. Religion in itself doesn't technically make a whole lot of sense.
Oh no, absolutely doesn't. Like there are many like Bible stories. So I grew up like with a religious mum, and sometimes we go to the church. I stopped going when I was young, but they tell us some stories like this guy's wife being turned to a pillar of salt. And I'm like, where did that come from? Whose idea was that? That's a weird story, man. Like,
I mean, it's if you read the Bible, which I've unfortunately done once or twice. Uh,
yeah,
I had a whole religious phase when I was younger. I was reading all sorts of like religious texts. I read the Quran and I read the Bible, and there was people passing pamphlets out all over Boston. And I was
great,
trying to find my way, and honestly, I found out that honestly, at best, I'm agnostic. At best,
fair enough.
I
It's good
I,
to
I
be
believe in a
educated.
higher power. I just don't have any real guidelines on what that means. There's
Fair
definitely
enough.
things in the world I can't fucking explain. You know.
For sure, for sure.
Uh,
Yeah. I also feel like the this is also spiritual as well because I think it is him exploring the lifelong question of what's the point of life, you know, like what's the meaning of life? Because it's very industrial where it's set, very based in machines. The set is very brutalism and such. He also built a lot of set pieces himself as well, like the cuckoo clock. And you actually see the famous Black Lodge flooring at one point as well in the elevator scene. It's the black and white, like, zigzag floor, which is obviously very reminiscent of Twin Peaks, which he doesn't go on to make for another 20 years. Um, but it's also the first character you see as well, like, humanoid character you see is this random guy pulling a lever. And I think that that is representative of God in a way, because it says, like, in the Bible that there's a pot of souls, and each time, you know, a person's born, their soul goes. When they run out of the pot of souls, that's when judgment happens, and that's when the rapture will allegedly happen. According to the Bible, I'm not a Christian, I don't believe in it, but hey. Um, and there's also spiritual in that as well, but he's pulling a lever, which is a big clog, again about machines, and it's sort of like the machine of life and how the point of life is to reproduce. And again, we see this with Mary's family with her grandmother. She's just kind of tucked away in the kitchen. She doesn't really play a character. I don't even think she has a single line of dialogue, but it's sort of the you know, age old saying of, well, when you're old, who will look after you? Your children will. So it's sort of David Lynch saying that life is presented as the need to reproduce. You always have to have children and keep that line going, sort of like a machine. So I feel like that's also the spiritual side of Eraserhead as well.
okay, you left me a little speechless there for just a moment.
This is how I read films, man. Like,
I I could see a lot of the spirituality in the film. I definitely see what you're saying.
yeah,
I had to watch this film twice in a row. I watched it yesterday. I got up at like 5 o'clock my time this morning, which would have been about I think 10 your time.
yeah, about
That's when
that.
I started my day, and I just kind of I was sitting, and I think I reached out to you, and I watched the film again, and I'm just the more I watch it, the less I understand. If that makes any sense, like
Absolutely.
I feel like you move through the motions of birth, life, death, resurrection throughout the
Yes,
entire film. Um,
definitely.
I know that I read a few things where people thought that the initial opening scene was the conception of their child. I saw it as as Henry's birth to begin with,
Oh, okay.
because you see this basically you see this whole scene where the man and the man and the earth, or whatever they're describing him as, or God in this sense, is pulling the lever, and the sperm basically fertilizes the egg, and then you see this interpretation of a child being birthed into life, and then the next thing you see is Henry.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. I've never thought of it like that because I also thought it was about the birth of their child. Because something I do appreciate about Eraserhead, which David Lynch does not do often, is that there was no sex scenes. And, well, there was one, but it was very weird, to be fair. So, but you don't actually see them,
That Mulholland
making the
Falls.
child. Oh, Mulholland Drive.
Oh no, well, okay, no,
Yeah.
I Mulholland Drive, right? Mulholland Falls is a different film.
Oh, different thing entirely. Okay, right.
Sorry, I
But,
did.
no, what was I saying?
Go
Man,
ahead.
I'm too ADHD for this. Forgot what I was saying. About
You're talking about the sex scenes that he doesn't normally do.
yes, yeah. You don't actually see it being made, and I like that because I think that it actually focuses more on the gender roles as well, better outside the bedroom because you see as well in the dinner scene is the most important scene in this whole thing. I feel like it seems like a bit of a scene that builds up tension. I feel like a lot of the essence in this film is built in that one scene because you see the mother kind of taking charge of things and the dad just kind of sinks into the background, and it's kind of reinforcing the gender roles of the woman looks after the home and the cooking and the cleaning, and the man just provides the money for them to live,
Right.
basically. And I feel like a lot of that coincides with people's fear of fatherhood and becoming parents and such, because when he started making this, he was a new father. Like his, I'm pretty sure Jen at this age was just born. So he was like dealing with becoming a father while making Eraserhead. And I feel like some of his own personal fears leaked into that as well because he was told by his family, like, you need to stop this film shit, settle down, and get an actual good paying career. And he felt that fear of having to provide financially. So he kind of shows that structure in the family dinner scene, in a way.
Right.
That's the way I interpret it.
I saw a few things in that scene. Like part of that scene, you could tell the religious aspects of it. We were talking about Mary basically in that scene realizes that she is now having a child out of wedlock, which devastates her, pisses off the
Yeah.
mother, and the father is just, I've got to deal with this, just trying to grin from ear to ear. Like I felt it was a fake smile that he was presenting. Like I have to deal with it either way because I'm the provider.
Yeah.
Technically, I don't have a say. I just kind of make sure everything works. And then later on, the father is technically the catalyst for his resurrection. That part where
Yes.
he's turned into the eraser head. The father was at the machine creating him as the eraser.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that kind of, again, goes into the machine aspect of family is a machine, life is a machine. You must provide to the machine by having a child and
Right.
continuing the life cycle and such. So
And
I
technically,
definitely see it shown there too.
Henry failed in that aspect.
He did,
I
yeah.
mean, they created a child, but what was created out of it was sort of an abomination, not necessarily what they were hoping for.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that part of me feels as though they made the baby really like messed up to show basically that you cannot predict what kind of child you have because the kid you have, that's the one you're given. And a lot of people see like if they have a child who has some kind of disability or some kind of like birth defect, so they think like, oh my god, my child isn't perfect, I failed, which is not the case because people are born and you just come out how you are, you're just born like that. And I think that there's a lot of pressure to having the perfect child as well, because you see all the time when someone has a kid, they grow up and the kids ends up going crazy or ends up being a bad person, the parents like, I failed as a parent. So I think that the baby represents the pressure of being a parent and having the perfect child and the picture perfect nuclear family.
Right. And what we have here is the exact opposite of a picture perfect family. I mean, the relationship is strained from day one. There's
Yeah,
an uncomfortable rapport between both him and Mary. From literally moment one in this film, you can tell something's wrong, something between them. Maybe a rush to get into the procreation portion of their relationship. It strained them. She found out she was pregnant, and it's just uncomfortable the entire film, all the way through.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
I mean, you see them like literally in bed with each other, like trying to live as a married couple with their child, and she's just like, I cannot take this, I'm out of here. So, and I think that that is also a commentary on don't have kids until you're ready, because I feel like a lot of people historically, and even today, kind of rush into having kids because they're just like, I want kids, I want them now. It's like, I know people who've had kids and said, oh, I wanted them by the time I was 30, but then turned around and said, I wish I waited until I was 30 to then have kids. So I think there's also that sort of people kind of feel rushed to have kids because of like the biological clock and like really wanting that because it's the goal of a lot of people to have children. So sometimes people have them before they are ready, and that is the consequence of doing so.
I think a lot of that scene where she finally walked out because of the child's constant screaming, she couldn't deal with the screaming, the sleepless nights. I think a lot of that was David Lynch actually approaching the subject of postpartum depression that you rarely heard about back in the 70s, because they kind of ignored that
Yeah,
psychological effect on women way back then.
definitely did, definitely. And it kind of manifests there as well. But you also see Henry really struggling with becoming a father as well. I mean, he ends up, pardon me, sorry.
That's
He
all
ends
right.
up he ends up being a single father, and then he kills the baby, like literally just scissors just right at the end. So I think it does also show the psychological effects of having a child, because it really can impact your mental health, and that is something that, as you said, wasn't talked about in the 70s, and it's only something we really recognize today. So this was probably David Lynch being like, hey, this is how it affects your mental health big time, because David Lynch has never been a stranger of using mental health as talking points in his films. Like, he was very revolutionary in that, especially with stuff such as Twin Peaks. Like, he actually shows a fair few characters who are clearly mentally ill, and you don't see that. So I think this is him very much being revolutionary in that aspect, for sure.
I mean, definitely. I mean, it was a taboo subject back then, talking about a woman not necessarily being able to handle her child after birth. I think I
Definitely.
know my own mother struggled a lot with it. She was a single mom up until I was about like I think 11 years old. And I heard
Yeah.
stories about how difficult it was for her to be able to handle me because I was a little shit when I was a kid. I really was. She told me
Same, yeah.
stories, stuff like, she'd like feed me my food and I would full on just every time just spit it in her face when I
Oh,
was little.
wow.
I was horrible as a little kid.
Oh, I'll do
Uh,
you one better. I was banned from watching Dora the Explorer because she pissed me off. 'Cause she'd be like, "Where's this? Where? Where?" I'd get annoyed. I'm like, "It's there!" And I threw my sip cup at the TV and it nearly broke. I was
it
banned
was
from watching Dora the Explorer.
it was because of me and how I totaled the walls in an apartment that she lived in, that she finally purchased a home and she started basically being a foster mother. She took one entire room and just wallpapered it with plain manila paper,
Right.
put baskets of pens and markers in there, and said, the kids are going to write on the walls anyway, might as well just give them a room to do it in.
That's
And just
actually
let them have
smart.
free artistic expression in that room. And when it was full, she would wallpaper over it again. She never wanted to get rid of it. She wouldn't tear down the old paper. She'd just put more up.
That's
So
smart.
whoever bought that house afterwards found a room that just layers upon layers of artwork from like 50 kids that went through our house.
That's incredible. I love it.
But it was because of me literally destroying an apartment that she never got the deposit back on, because I would just write all over everything. She's like, how do you always find the permanent fucking markers? I can't get this off the
Kids will
walls.
find a way. They will find a way to wreck shit. They just do. Like, God knows I was forever destroying shit as a child. For me, it was usually clothes. But that's because I played outside a lot, so.
I think I was destructive all the way through my teens. I really was. I did some seriously dumb stuff. I think I told you a tale of a friend of mine who accidentally set the woods on fire with a errant WD-40 can.
I mean, me and my friends at least set the woods on fire because we were trying to light a fart on fire after being inspired by Jackass. So,
I think Johnny Knoxville inspired some people to do some seriously dumb stuff.
oh yeah, it would. Johnny Knoxville and the effects of teenage boys ending up in A&E because of Jackass.
We used to blow up old tube televisions.
Jesus Christ. Okay, I was never that bad. That's next level. I never committed full-on, like, arson.
The area that we lived in was right off of... I lived in a home that was right off of defunct old train tracks. And if you followed the train tracks, it went past the area where they had, like, the electrical company. The electric grid was basically set up to one side, and you go down a little further and there was this opening where, like, everybody from town would just go around and just hang out and drink in the woods, just to be away from adults, parents, and everything. And me and my buddies would find a way to get up into New Hampshire where you could legally buy some pretty heavy fireworks, and then bring it down into Mass where you could not light off fireworks.
Of course.
And then head out into the woods and just blow up certain shit. You know, we'd light it and then hide behind trees so nobody got the shrapnel.
Lovely.
So destructive kids who caused the local fire department to have to increase its budget, I guess, on a couple of different occasions.
Probably. If Eraserhead doesn't convince you to not have kids, maybe our stories of being batshit crazy teenagers will.
Yeah,
Because literally,
right.
like, I am very anti-child by choice. Like, I am never having kids. I don't want kids. I'm going out of my way to ensure that shit never happens. I just don't want to be a parent. People have started asking me why don't want kids. I've started just saying, if you watch the film Eraserhead, because I am scared of childbirth as it is, because I remember watching Alien when I was about 12 or 13, and I was like, I watched Alien, and I was like, why do I feel like this is what having a child is like? And then I looked it up, lo and behold, it is actually a feminist film about pro-choice, but obviously Ripley Scott couldn't outwardly say this is a film about abortion in the 70s. It would have never been greenlit. So Alien is a metaphor for rape and childbirth. I saw Alien, instantly thought that's what having a child is like. I'm not doing that shit. I now actually have tocophobia, fear of pregnancy. That shit terrifies me. Yeah, so Eraserhead is a horror film to me.
I mean, let's be entirely honest. Right now, in this social media driven world, in this horror show where you can't get away from literally the horrors of the world, childbirth, whatever, it is difficult to even fathom the idea of raising a child in this environment. And I can understand why a lot of people have been avoiding it like the plague.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, like, cost of living is obviously a big one now, because I can barely afford to keep a roof over my head and feed myself, let alone have a whole other person to do that with. And a lot of my friends have said, like, they would like to be parents, but given the state of the world, they don't want to. So I feel like, along with the fears of having a child, there's also the world as well. And bringing it back to Eraserhead, I actually think that this film is, because of when it was made, a pro-choice film, because I genuinely think it has a lot of feminist undertones. As you said, it briefly sort of reflects postpartum depression. And David Lynch was a very progressive man for his time. He was forever, showing the horrors of men and, what happens to women and such. So I feel like there is feminist undertones as well, and also the right to choose, because she's forced into this marriage after she is forced to have this child, and obviously it tears them both apart. Now, it was made during the time of Roe v. Wade, and when, abortion and feminism really started to take off. I mean, it was right in the middle of second wave feminism of the 1970s when abortion was legalized. And I genuinely think that Eraserhead is very slightly got undertones of feminism and pro-choice, basically being like, if you do not want children, you should not have to. Abortion should be a thing. So because of like, when
Pardon
it
me.
was made and those little like undertones, I think it's
Right.
a feminist film in a way.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I definitely think like I feel like the film was showing that she kind of it's pro-choice, but I feel like she felt she was forced to have the child based on the strictures of her family.
Yeah,
Like she
for
didn't
sure, for
want to
sure.
have this child, that if it was her choice, I think she knew something was wrong. And if it was her choice, she would have had an abortion rather than carrying it through, marrying Henry and trying to raise this child.
Yeah.
Um, and she finally decided her choice was to leave in the end, that she could not handle it. That it's not something she wanted to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's kind of the point of, abortion and such and the right to choose. It is, I want to choose to do this. Because, of course, you can choose to be a mother. That is a choice. But also, so is terminating a pregnancy. So I think that this is David Lynch basically being like, hey, this is why we need abortion. Because people shouldn't have to suffer like this.
So here's a small. I'm going to go into a different area because my ADHD brain just thought of something too. This
Go ahead.
podcast is known for having people with heavy ADHD going off on meandering rants.
Hello. Hi, yeah. ADHD as fuck, I know about it.
So the woman in the radiator that he sees on occasion, I feel, and this is just my own interpretation. Like he said, he leaves things up to interpretation. There's a whole dance where she's basically doing the in heaven, everything is fine, and she's basically stomping on all this sperm around her.
I also think
Uh,
that's feminist. That's her
I
saying no.
I think that she is a mutant gene. That she is the gene that got through, that created this child. It's a representation of him not being able to actually create normal children. His actual sperm, the ones that would have gotten through and created children that would have been fairly, uh, I don't want to say normal, but that wouldn't have created a mutant child that we saw in this particular instant. Those ones were not strong enough, and that it was the mutated gene, the woman in the radiator, that is the one that is always able to get through. So any child he has is basically going to result in this particular mutation.
I never thought of it like that. Because, right, this also ties in. I kind of forgot about that for a second. Also ties into why I think it's a feminist film. Because she's singing, in heaven, everything is fine. If you get an abortion, the child will go to heaven. It will be
Right.
fine. It's okay to get an abortion if you want to. But also,
Exactly.
she's there dodging the, things being like, I ain't doing it, bitch. I'm not getting pregnant. Mm-mm. Which,
And
me
she's
too, I
offing the
feel
other
her.
sperm left and right.
Yeah, just fully just stomping on them and shit, which is so grim, but also yeah, understandable. Like, me too.
It's like, I honestly, her performance was probably one of my favorite performances in the film.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. I really love how weird she is as well, 'cause she looks weird and different, because David Lynch historically loved working with people who were different. Like, he really loved working with people with disabilities as well, because they didn't look like an everyday person. Like, famously in Twin Peaks, he works with people who are missing an entire arm, a guy who has dwarfism, a guy who is insanely tall and plays both the giant and the guy at the hotel. So he likes people who look different. And I think that the woman in the radiator is his first kind of vision of people who look different. She has those weird huge cheeks, and she's
right.
got weird skin texture. I think that's maybe, it's the first kind of, it's his first film, yes, but it's also him kind of, his vision of his cinematic universe coming together in a way. I feel like that character design is very much a part of that, if you get what I'm saying. Because
Yes,
I
no,
feel
I
like,
understand what you're saying.
yeah, Eraserhead is very much the blueprint of David Lynch's films are fucking weird, and this is just a taste of it. So,
This is the catalyst. This was
yeah.
I really appreciate him having worked hard to make sure that his vision came true, because I think without this, we wouldn't have some absolutely fantastic films.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Definitely. I mean, I watched just before going to Eraserhead, the Twin Peaks: The Return episode got a light, and I was watching this and how it was edited and such, and the people in the theater. I kept saying to my partner, I was like, "This is so fucking Eraserhead coded. He has gone back to his roots in his final project." And I really loved that as well because just how it was stylized, how it was edited, how the sequence went through, the random characters really drew you back to Eraserhead. And I feel like stripped down at its core, Eraserhead, yes, his most spiritual film, but also the film that is the most Lynchian, in my opinion.
I think because he was allowed by the American Film Institute to create his vision. He was
Yes,
allowed by
definitely.
them to create his vision in total. After this, he kind of had to deal with corporate politics and studios, which
Yep.
can tend to put restrictions on you that most directors don't like.
Famously, June was terrible for him. It made him so depressed. He was ready to tap out film entirely. Like, he said famously that, Carl McLachlan was about the only good part of June because there was just so much studio interference. It just absolutely killed him. And I can see why as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that a lot of people do. I mean, even like other directors, like John Carpenter, struggled with studio interference all the
Oh,
time. He had
yup.
great visions for his films, and they always stepped in and somehow screwed him over, film after film after film. Uh,
Yeah, same with George Lucas as well. Like, they really love to stifle the creative, like, geniuses, because Eraserhead is his most, I think, independent art house avant-garde film. Like, yeah, he has some weird ass films after that, but nothing in the way of Eraserhead, where it's very experimentalist and it's very just out there. Like, it is honestly at its core indie art house film, and I love that.
and this is why I love raw, grindhouse, trashy independent films,
Hell yeah. Long live indie
because
cinema.
you run across first-time directors or even lifetime directors who have never been encumbered by a studio's need to kind of meet the status quo.
Definitely, yeah.
And so you end up seeing a lot of people's visions as they want it to be, sometimes without the effects that they would like to have. You know, some people have to work with terrible CGI. Shark Exorcist.
Yep, yep. But it adds to the charm as well. It really adds to it as well. Because one of my favorite experimentalist films is one that isn't very well known. It's called Koyaanisqatsi. If you're big into like experimentalist film, you might have heard of it. But basically, Koyaanisqatsi is basically it's a series of shots and it's three parts and it starts out in the desert and in nature and then slowly gets closer to the city. And it's basically about how unnatural human life is and how we live just isn't right. And you wouldn't know it just by looking at it at standard, but once you really dissect it and really look into like the ins and outs and the sound design and the shots and such and how it's edited, it really like ties together and you have a different appreciation for it. I mean, it's not a film you can watch sober, I don't think, because it is very long and drawn out. Like, have a drink, have a little, so.
Right, right,
But I
right.
feel like that is the art of experimental film as well. Doing these crazy abstract shots and sound design, turning it into something that is not surface level, but is actually really deep underneath and really makes you think.
You're going to have to both spell that for me and send me a link of some sort so I can figure out where that film is and where I can
It's
see it.
a really difficult spelling. The only reason why I know how to spell it is because I wrote so many essays about it while I was studying film, so
Because that does sound like a bit of a trip to watch.
it
Uh,
so is. I absolutely love it.
All right, so it looks like we're kind of winding down just a little bit, so we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here. Thank you, Stephanie, for joining me today, and I really do hope that you felt kind of comfortable and you want to join us a little bit more for some other interesting films.
Hey, listen, ADHD coded film talk is like my whole thing. So,
That being said, before we leave, I do like to kind of ask, how would you rate this on like an IMDb scale of 1 to 10?
oh, 1 to 10, I would give it. I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10, purely because it just kind of, the production value just wasn't there yet. He did make it on a shoestring budget, so it is understandable. It was great given the circumstances he was filming it under, but I feel like there could have been a lot more improvements and it could have been a little bit more polished, but I can see why given the circumstances and money and restraints and such.
So I would personally give it about a 6.5. This is again, this is his passion project. This is the first film. This is the catalyst for all the films to come right after that. Normally, I'd give it about a 6. Give it about a 6.5 because Nance had to wear that hair for 5 years.
That poor man.
So
I bet the first thing he did after they wrapped was go to the barber and get a decent trim.
you've seen his hair. You saw his hair afterwards. If you watched any of the interviews that he did alongside of David Lynch, it's all short cropped.
I don't blame him.
But that means it was also a passion project for him. If you're willing to commit to that haircut for 5 years,
that is a commitment.
That's some
for
passion
sure.
right there.
Yeah.
Right? That is yeah.
Well, they were
some
lifelong friends and collaborators, so that fuck-ass haircut definitely, paid off in the long run.
Because that's like a Harold Ramis, Barton Fink-esque hairdo. You
Yeah.
can tell that even Kramer from Seinfeld was kind of inspired by that hairdo.
I can see that for sure.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us today for Cinematic Anarchy. You can basically find our podcast anywhere podcasts are found. You can find us on Instagram, Spotify. We're on YouTube. X, I guess now. I don't like that. I'd rather have Twitter.
It's Twitter.
I like that.
I'll start calling Twitter X when Elon Musk stops dead naming his kid.
I'm never going to call it X because Twitter, I can tweet something all I want, but I'm never going to excrete something.
It is a cesspit, so...
Steph, you got some social media too. They can find you some other places. Where would they be able to find you?
You can find me as StephFred13 on pretty much everything. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I mostly just chat shit about films and make videos because I think I'm hilarious. So if you want to go see me talk about film in the most ADHD unhinged way possible, you can go find me there.
All right, and on behalf of myself, Steph, and the rest of the crew, keep things fucking weird, people.